Yeah, so banyan tree, Satish ji says, fine. Mechanized gold, yeah, there was a time when all of us were running to see mechanized gold. I'm now forgetting some story. It's a Western movie. Yeah. So Surendra ji, you remember the movie, yeah?
That's cowboys digging gold and all that.
Correct.
Yes, yeah.
Clint Eastwood was there, I think, in that movie.
Yeah, Clint Eastwood, yes.
Jaykumarji, that story
Gregory
you
Peck,
talked
I
about
thought.
old man is actually Vruddha Kumari Nyayahara.
Correct. So I changed this. Last time when I said old lady. This time I said old man. Correct. Vruddha Kumari Nyaya. That is what it is called in our Sanskrit, formal Sanskrit. Vruddha Kumari. I think it must be Vruddha Kumari, right? She is a Vruddha. Then she becomes a Kumari. That is a Nyaya.
It's actually Gregory Peck, not Gregory Peck. And
Correct. Gregory Peck. Any questions?
So in this 11th chapter, I think you get a lot of Damstra, Karalam, and all this. I heard of by these words, some other lecture I was saying, like very dangerous kind of teeth and all coming out. So such Rupa is expressed here in 11th chapter.
Right. So if anybody will have doubts about, oh, Bhagavan, in Vibhuti, all nice things are all brought out. And so, wait, don't be so quick. Wait for one more chapter. You will see. Yeah, Mahesh, go ahead.
In the translation after Arjuna said, can you repeat please one more time?
Yeah. On account of these words,
Okay.
which were taught by you. Shall I say the whole thing or?
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Okay.
One other question, Jagamarji. In last summary class, we said that you said that we start with the Ekarupa and then Anekarupa and then Vishwarupa and then Arupa, Ishvara, the progression, so to speak. But during the when we learned the chapter 10, at some point I thought you said Anekarupa and Vishwarupa is same. Is that correct? My understanding is correct.
Yeah,
So, see, Ekarupa is what? Ekarupa is
Ishtadevata.
God. God has to be one God only. Can't be many gods. And that God is somewhere out there. And that God will have a form. Because one person, one form. That is Ekarupa. Anekarupa, it depends on how we interpret the word Anekarupa. Anekarupa is polytheism, not polytheistic, they say. Means you have Devata, Aneka Devata. So Aneka Devata Rupa Ishvara. And Devata also in Muppattu Mukkodi Devadai. So there also there seems to be a limit. There seems to be a limit. 33 groups of Devatas, right? And groups. And so therefore, if you interpret it that way, that is not Vishwarupa. Because Vishwarupa is looking at the entire universe as Bhagavan.
Yeah, that's the way I understood. Because Anekarupa, at least in my years ago, I learned that Anekarupa is many deities, or if you want to call it, many deities, and Vishwarupa is everything in the everything in the world is me.
Correct. Correct.
That's, yeah.
I think that's
Thank-
what I may have said it that way. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, when Satyaji is there, go ahead, Satyaji.
You made a reference to Oppenheimer. And I was watching a small short video about Oppenheimer, and he learned Sanskrit for a year to understand the underlying meaning of Bhagavad Gita. And he attributed the deaths of Japanese during the World War II as a result of atomic bombs, which were produced as a result of his work, were not his accountability or were not his responsibility. So just like Arjuna killed these people, but Krishna said he already killed them. But Arjuna was simply an instrument. And it is the death is not the falling of the bodies, but it is the Atma that survives. So all those people who were killed literally in Japan in Second World War as a result of the atomic weapons were not deaths, and he was not accountable or responsible in any way. So to speak, he was trying to get rid of his guilt feeling or remove his suffering, so to speak. I think one of the principal reasons most people study the scriptures is Atma Suddhi and to get rid of any suffering in the life, whether it is emotional or something else. So I think he was kind of an example what he was trying to get from Hindu philosophy.
Right. So there is that that stream of thought where, yeah, so we have to be very careful here, right? So this is Bhagavad Gita cannot give us the excuse to do wrong things. Because dharma, adharma, this is beyond dharma and adharma. Beyond dharma and adharma does not mean adharma. Dharma and adharma is still there. And but I'm able to see what is beyond adharma and dharma. But yeah, those are all provocative statements that I am not responsible for this, and these are all not needed. Just do what you have to do. You know, it's like, yeah, guilt. America is never wrong, you know. America is always right. So isn't that true? I think somewhere I read that. I think America is always right. You guys figure out right and wrong. We have already figured it all out. Okay. So that attitude comes out sometimes. So somewhere I read, one of my friends sent me a paper on that very topic that you talked about, Oppenheimer and the thing. And he sent me in an email long ago, but 50, this is Surya Kavari, Prasad and others will know. And he sent me, and he said, you know how the subject he put it, my friend put it, how to blame the Bhagavad Gita for the atom.
Yeah.
This is how that email, I still have that email. I saw that subject was staring at me. And I still can't forget that, how my friend worded that. Okay. And you read and you say, my goodness, these people have figured out a whole thesis behind that. So that now, guys, you guys cannot blame us for this war. Okay. You guys, it's your problem. So anyway, that's.
I believe it was verse 32, right? Kalosmi lokakshaya
Yeah.
That's what he quoted.
Correct. This is what it is. That's what it is. So, but yeah, for us though, I think the key is, yeah, the Nachiketa may become wise after listening to Yama, but he's going to go back to earth. He's going to become the son of his father once again, and he's going to lead a life in the kingdom, and he's going to be in a palace, and he's going to be responsible for a lot of things. He's going to grow up, and so He can't say I'm a karta and then just do whatever he wants to do. No, not acceptable. I'm not a karta. Yeah, go ahead. Satyaji, is that the reason you brought it up? Anything else you wanted to add?
Two things. One is how he was using Hindu philosophy to free himself from the suffering of mental agony that he was accused of being the supervisor of the Manhattan Project and was mainly responsible for creating the atomic bombs. So my point of view is the Bhagavad Gita and other scriptures, study of them helps us also emotionally to become free from suffering. I think we need to put that at the back of our mind.
Right, right. So he needed the Bhagavad Gita. What he couldn't get in the Bible, he found in the Bhagavad Gita. That is a very important thing. And yeah, so this Ashocyan Anvasochastvam, Prajnavadamsya Bhashase, that is how Bhagavad Gita begins. And it ends with Ma Shuchaha, 66th Shloka. Sarvadharman Parityajya Mamekam Sharanam Vaja Ahantva Sarva Papebhyo Moksha Yishyami Ma Shuchaha. Last word of the Bhagavad Gita, at least of the Charama Shloka, we call it 66. Last word of the teaching is also Shoka. Shuchaha. Ma Shuchaha. May you not grieve. So yeah, the grief, that sorrow, that is the one we don't want. No human being wants. Correct. We don't want jnanam, really speaking. But then it turns out that jnanam does relieve you, remove sorrow forever. That is why jnana. But we don't study jnanam, study for study's sake.
Correct.
Never. Atmanastha kamaya sarvam priyam bhavati. So, true.
So someone from other than Hindu philosophy took the time to learn about Sanskrit and try to understand the depth of Bhagavad Gita, not as told by others, but by himself understanding by his own reading and learning and trying to make use of the scriptures for his benefit, so to speak.
Correct. Agreed. That's one has
But
to.
isn't it the way? That's why we need to go to the Guru, so that we don't misinterpret any of our scriptures.
Yeah, so he wanted some pramana to recuse himself.
Yeah.
He wanted some pramana. He was such a guilt-ridden man. He must have been. I have not read his life and all that. But he must have been so guilt-ridden that he had to access the Eastern philosophies. He had to access. He must have read other books also. Taoism, this, that, and all he must have read. And which all pointed to this, the Upanishads and Bhagavad Gita. Upanishads harder to read. So some clues are enough, right? Some clues are enough. It's not like he wrote 4 Sanskrit exams and then 4 levels he passed, and then from Arjuna, Vishada, Yoga and all. No, he doesn't have to do all that. Just, he's a wise man, no doubt. And so he can follow. And then some things, books he read, and Sanskrit also he must have read, studied. So I don't know anything about Oppenheimer's, intellectual background in that area. But yeah, you're right. That's why these are all. So he's not interested in Brahma Vidya, by the way. Why I said all this? Oppenheimer, like Satyaji said, he had a serious guilt complex. And so it's good to some extent. At least you felt guilty for what you did. It's a good thing. And he wanted to find a way to get rid of that, I suppose. And there is one aspect of it which is correct, which is only Vedanta can remove that guilt permanently. No psychologist, no emotional technique, this meditation, that meditation will remove it permanently. The root has to be removed. This kartrutvam has to be removed. Only then guilt has to be, will completely go. Now, whether he removed it by understanding it all, the entire vision, or not, nobody can say. Yeah. Oppenheimer. Yeah. Vaidya, go ahead.
So Jayakumar ji had a question about Aneka Bhakti. So Aneka Bhakti would mean then you are worshipping Bhagwan in various forms, right? Just like, our standard Hindu way of worship can be considered as Aneka Bhakti, right?
So, you mean Aneka Rupa Bhakti?
Aneka Rupa Bhakti, yes. Yes, because we invoke Bhagwan like, for example, in a form of Ganesha, in a Shivalinga, etc., and then we worship, right?
Definitely. It's Aneka Rupa Bhakti. But then, whether that translates to Vishwarupa or not, we don't know. Sometimes I have that doubt. Aneka Rupa Bhakti is there. Somebody has only one God in their religion. In our religion, we have many devatas. So, there is a beauty to it. The beauty is that you don't latch on to one thing and don't take that as absolute. That message comes out loud and clear. And so then Vedanta comes and then it rings, it says, yeah, it has to be true. It has to be true. So that comes out. But then there is also a downside to the Aneka Rupa Bhakti. The downside is that bhakti is fragmented. Think about it. I want you to think about it. No, I'm not. Just think about it and see if is that a problem or not. Does it ever happen? Or no, it doesn't happen. Bhakti, it doesn't matter. Right? Ganesha is there, Shiva is there, and Vishnu is there. My God, I'm surrounded by so many devatas. So my bhakti is actually just coming out. My bhakti is very obvious. That also may be an argument. And so I think we should take it that way. I don't think we should take it as bhakti gets fragmented. I think that's probably a wrong way of looking at it. But then when it comes to Vedanta, when we want to focus our energies, we want to focus our studies, we want to focus our bhakti, then what all Vedanta students are advised for, Swami Tattvavedanta ji will say it also, is you need to stick to one devata. One devata. Then all devatas will become distractions. And since they should stop distractions, prevent distractions, stick to one devata. That's it. Your pujas are all done to one devata. Focus on one devata. This is very important for a Vedanta. Not that we should not go to temples and do namaskar to other devatas. No, that's not the meaning. Don't get lost in this whole thing. I want to do this homa, Ganesha homa, I want to do that homa, I want to do this. That thing, that idea has to slowly drop off. Drop off. Correct? So, very beautiful. When I heard this from Swami Tattvavedanta, then I realized, yeah, the importance of that.
So does that mean, Jayakumarji, then we don't have to have so many pictures of gods in our house?
So, correct. Now, your family members may need it. So, you don't need it, that's all. And you don't need it does not mean you should remove these family pictures from the
No, I'm saying.
Therefore, yeah, you focus on Ishtadevata. That's why in the temple we have Dakshinamurti in the ashram. Dakshinamurti becomes our Ishtadevata. Why Dakshinamurti? Guru. Now the Guru becomes important in my life. Therefore, Dakshinamurti becomes important. Therefore, daily morning Dakshinamurti puja becomes important. And all the messages that come is all about this Atma Tattvam Brahma Vidya. And so that whole bhakti is focused on Dakshinamurti. then I become a Bhakta, Shiva Bhakta, but Dakshinamurti Bhakta, then even the form and all is initially important, then slowly the form also disappears. From Ekarupa to Anekarupa to again Ekarupa, it seems like, but that Ekarupa is towards Arupa, taking me towards Arupa. Yeah, that shows maturity, that shows knowledge. That's happening.
Yeah, because we have this Grama Devada, we have Kula Devada, we have other, different. Because I remember in one of my friends' family in Coimbatore, they had some difficulties in life, and they asked a Joshi or somebody who came and looked and all. So his prognosis, he said that you have forgotten your Kula Devada. So that is why you are going through all this, and so at that time, these people probably didn't know where the Kula Devada was. They went around and found out, and then went to that temple, did a lot of pujas and all those things, prashchitta. So that kind of thinking also is there in our culture. That's
Yeah, so what you said just now is not opposed to what I said.
no. I'm just saying is that
Everything.
they were doing all the pujas at home, all other things, but they said you are running around to different temples, but you are not worshipping in that particular temple. Which is kind of, you know what I'm saying? That is kind of different than what we are saying.
Yeah, so there, Grama Devata is highlighted, and
Kula Devata is not like a Devata, that particular location.
yeah, so these things, this is the tradition. Tradition, these things highlight our tradition. And so we are supposed to remember her or him, that Grama Devata, and take care of her. Only then she can take care of us. That's how the relationship was those days. And well, since we moved away to cities and all that, we kind of, many people may grow up not knowing all these things. But yeah, that's important for the society and for the community and for the family. Very important. Kula Devata, Grama Devata. So we say, Kula Devam, yeah, that popularly we use that word. This is our Kula Devam. Tirupati is our Kula Devam. This particular village is our Kula Devam, like that we say. So it's very important. It's very important. It is not necessary to go to all the famous temples, quote unquote famous temples. Grama Devata is enough, and hang on to the Grama Devata or Kula Devata. It's it. Those two are enough. Because Grama Devata need not be the Kula Devata also. So those, we allow for that possibility. Yeah, Haraprasad.
What that movie Kantara is about, right? The movie Kantara. Bhutakola. Grama Devata, right?
Kantara, correct. Grama Devata. How many of you have seen Kantara?
I haven't seen it yet, but I want to.
Okay. They screened it right here in our complex. But I didn't have the time to go. So how was it, Bhagya? I mean,
I didn't actually see
this
it.
one, Narayanan and others.
We saw it in the original script Kannada. We heard it in the original script Kannada. So yeah, it's based on ground reality, especially the practices in South Canara. And it's made in a dharmic way. So so it's a blow to the Lely group.
It's a blow to the
Lely, left liberals.
Really?
Lely group.
Oh, left liberal group. It's a blow.
So-called pseudo left liberals, Lely.
Yeah, okay.
And also it became a success. That was the icing on the cake. When everything else failed, including movies like Rama Setu, which was supposed to.
It had a very strong message, Guruji. Like the rituals complement the tradition. It's not separate. And because of which we don't have to interfere too much into, conservation and stuff like that, because it is complete. The culture itself is complete, that if it is followed properly, it will maintain the chakram. That is the message. I felt that was a very strong message.
Because the movie is actually in the till the last stage, the hero is anti. I mean, he does everything against what he is supposed to, against dharma. Right? And finally, at the last thing, there's a changeover.
No, he is unaware of the ritual and the culture being complementing each other. Mother tries to remind, and finally he gets that jnanodayam of, I am not a separate entity. And and that's the message, like, the culture is complete.
What is the meaning of the word Kantara?
Kantara is that ritual is called as Kantara, or the practice. That is called Kantara.
I see.
So Panjuli is the Devata there, and they are all treated as Ganas, Shiva Ganas, different Shiva Ganas.
I see.
So even a government official trying to, work in tune with the community to conserve is a good concept. You don't have to punish them and show them that, what is right and wrong, because the culture itself is complete. That's what it's trying to show. If you are working in accordance with them, it will work well. If you go against and start punishing and take, law, thinking that you are doing the right thing, that may not work. In the final conclusion, that's the message. Like, you don't have to, be worried about all these indigenous groups, because they are actually supporting and in accordance to the nature they are functioning, because the culture itself and the tradition is complete. That's what it's trying to convey.
Very good.
And if you look at the hero in every this thing, he refuses to speak in English. In any interview, he refuses to speak in English. He wears only a dhoti.
Oh.
Yeah. You watch any of his interviews, he will speak in Kannada, he'll speak in Hindi, but he refuses to speak in English.
He knows,
Rishabh Shetty.
Not that he doesn't know to speak in English, but even the best of the channels tried to get some interviews in English. He said, no, I want to speak in Kannada only.
Kannada, Hindi, I mean, everything.
Hindi, Kannada, Tamil.
So he changed the movie, or movie changed him?
Maybe the process making of the movie changed him.
So if you actually look at it, I mean, if you've heard his interviews, he clearly says this movie was made for a fun purpose. Because it was post-COVID, there are people without work. He said, okay, let's make a movie on my village practices. That's how the whole concept came. It was not made a movie for the sake of a movie. It was a movie made to occupy some time. Free time.
Very interesting. Very interesting.
And there was a lot of the Lely group tried to sabotage it by going to court, saying copyright. That last song, Varaha Rupam, that song, they said it is copied from a Malayalam movie and all that. They sabotaged it. In the initial release on the OTT platform, the court put an injunction saying that don't use that song. Finally, it got vacated.
I see.
So they tried everything to sabotage.
I see. Very interesting. Okay. Fascinating.
Similarly, like they tried to sabotage the appointment of this Gauri judge of Madras High Court yesterday.
What was that?
There's a lady judge who got appointed as additional judge, and she was ex-BJP. She was the BJP Mahila Society president. So they tried to sabotage her. They went to Supreme Court to say that she cannot be appointed and all that.
Victoria Gauri.
Victoria Gauri, yeah, I saw that name and I thought she's actually liberal.
Lily.
Really.
Yeah, Araprasadji, go ahead.
Mahodaya, one question. When you go from Ekarupa to Anekarupa and back to the Ekarupa, in that process, in the latter part of this process, you may have to discard a lot of pictures and books and all related to this, particularly if a person has a lot of various pictures and you start thinking of Ekarupa, or sometimes maybe no Rupa at all, don't you think in that process somebody has to discard a lot of pictures? And if so, how do they do it?
Right. So this is an important question, topic. See, first of all, for us, all these pictures are sacred. All the murtis are sacred in our puja room. It doesn't matter. Somebody gives, and then on top of that, people start gifting you also those kinds of murtis. Now, what do you do with all that? And where do you keep all this? All these doubts start coming. So, for this reason, I think we have to just focus on few. You can have any number of murtis or pictures in your puja room. That is okay. There is nothing wrong with that. I don't think anything is wrong with that. It allows us to see. So gurus are there, Arvind, the Ramana Maharshi is there, that side, and here Shankaracharya, Vyasa, and then Devi is there, Saraswati, Lakshmi, and then Kula Devata, Grama Devata. Yeah, the whole puja room is full of these kinds of images and murtis. Okay, nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. Now, I said Vedantin has to start focus, right? And at that time, what I meant is, previously, if you were chanting some shlokas, now your Manisha Panchakam, Shankaracharya's work is there, Bhajagovindam, these kinds of things are there, where will you, suppose your time is limited, and you have only so much time in a day or a week, and you can either chant Bhajagovindam, okay, and Dakshinamurti Stotram, or you can chant only Vishnu Sahasranam. Which one will you chant? Suppose I ask that question. I pose a question. Okay, you have only 10 minutes. Then I will say, okay, now that you're moving towards this Advaita Vedanta, you have to chant more and more Advaita Vedanta texts, of which we have numerous anyway. And so you focus on Bhajagovindam, focus on Dakshinamurti Stotram, focus on Pudesha Sahasri, focus on Bhagavad Gita chanting. And let go of all the other chanting. It's all right to let go of the other chanting. Okay. People will say, they will brand you. Oh, those days you used to chant, now you're not. You're chanting something else. Something else. So that's okay. So all those things will be there. So how am I going to deal with all this? The way to deal with all it is to find a way to manage it and say, hey, my focus is shifting now. And so now on top of that, studying Kathopanishad Bhashyam, we are supposed to do Bhashya Parayana. Where is the time for all this? There's no time for all this. You have to make the time, and the only way to make the time for it is by slowly letting go of the thing and convincing yourself, letting go of Mudakarat Modakam is not making Ganesha angry. Otherwise, Ganesha is getting upset with me, idea will come. Ganesha cannot get upset with me. Maybe I should tell myself, Ganesha is happy that he's worshipping my father. So therefore, two things we have to learn from this. One thing is, from a focus perspective, I need to bring that focus to one Ishta Devata, one or two, doesn't matter. From many to few, that's what I mean. And then that's going to further reduce to one, okay, later. But that is internal here. And also externally, that what are the type of things I'm chanting, what are the type of things I'm studying, all that also will be focused on Advaita related texts. Okay. That means other things that I've been chanting before, on Friday I do this, on Thursday morning I do this, on Wednesday I do this, on Tuesday I do this, on Monday I do this, on Sunday I do something else. All these rituals are there. You may have to change that practice. I must gain the courage to say, yeah, I've been doing it since childhood, but now I'm going to add on to it, or I'm going to replace it by something else. Because that something else now is more meaningful to me. That is why, because what's more meaningful to you is what you have to.
Yeah, I follow you. A further question on the same regard is, how do you physically dispose of many things which you don't need it at this time? Religious things. What is the method you suggest?
Right. You see, one good method is to give it to young children who are coming to your house, or who are there, whom you know, children of friends or families. You say, worship this Devata. She will give you the ability to remember your class notes properly. You know what? That girl will keep it with her. Later on, years later, she will tell, uncle gave it to me. That is one way to give all these things off. And because what may not be that important to you is going to be very important to somebody else. So that's a very good way to do it. That's an ideal way. So there are some formal ways also. And other ways are, that's in my opinion, that's what I do. That's what I do. And sometimes what will happen, you won't have the heart to give something. Okay. But at the same time, it's occupying a lot of room also. Your puja room is overflowing. And so you have to do something. For years you accumulate it. Then you put it in a box. Certain things you have to put it in a box. And the box is also kept close to the puja room, because you don't have the heart to just take it out somewhere. Definitely I'm not going to throw it. So then transition is there. But the point is, you are welcome to give that to somebody else. Just like somebody gives a Shivalinga to us and say, come on, this tradition is coming now, you have to take care of it. And then you do puja to the Shivalinga. That somebody is stop doing puja to the Shivalinga now, the minute it comes to our hands. That means what? He or she was able to grow out of it. Grow out of it, correct? Like that.
No, Mahoday, it does not, it won't work. I'm looking for a practical method in which, because in this in my daughter's generation, it will not work. Okay. So I'm looking for a way when I'm alive to take care of this.
If you have a house, if you have a garden, you can bury all of them in your garden. You can make a place, the sacred place. Your entire garden is sacred. Among that, you pick a place like a tulsi. If you have tulsi, that's sacred. Doesn't matter if you don't have tulsi, sacred place. This becomes a place where you make a hole, and then you put all the murtis there. And then for the next 11 days, do puja there. This one, sow a seed or sow a plant, make a sapling, or keep it make a hole next to the tree itself, next to the plant itself. So you don't have to do all these things. Then do a puja there for 11 days. That's a very sacred way to make room for yourself inside. At the same time, we are not desecrating the murtis. You have given them you tell them, you write in your own language, English or Kannada, whatever because of you, I am who I am today. And because of you, I am now studying Vedanta. Because of you, you have given me you have opened the windows for me. I now have a clarity about where I want to go next. And I am, with respect, I am giving you your rightful place. I think it's a beautiful ritual. I just came up with it, okay? I mean, I do it sometimes for some other things, but this is what this should be done by us. Otherwise, there's too much confusion. This paper stacked up, all these frames are stacking up, and all the murtis are stacking up. But yeah, this is the way to do a proper yathasthanam for all the murtis. And then keep it sacred, and then tell people when your friends come, this is what I've done. And this is also pray. This is also puja room. This is a place one can do puja. I can do inside or I can do outside also puja. I can chant Shankaracharya stotrams inside, or I can come outside and chant Shankaracharya. There it's over. Your life is complete after that. That's, I think, practical, doable. If not, also we have other ways. Suppose you say, I don't have a garden, this, that. If you say, yeah, then there are other ways to do it. We'll take it to a public place and do it. Can do, because earth will consume everything. So without hurting others, means others should not feel why you're doing it on my this thing that we should not create that kind of a himsa. But these are ways to take care of what would otherwise be considered a problem.
Dhanyavada, Mahodaya.
Yeah. Bhuma Devi. So then that day we do a puja for Bhuma Devi, and then chant maybe mantras, about 11 mantras, names you can come up with, do it, and then chant, offer the water, and do it for 11 days, and then we are free after that. Yeah. Yeah, go ahead, Narayan.
Probably the frames and glass can be given for recycling, and then maybe the papers with the murti can be buried.
Absolutely correct. So we take the frame out, and anything that can be materially recycled can be recycled, and leave the photos, leave the just bare murti. Murti is not a problem. And so murti is having color and all that. So that's why we have to be careful what we buy and all that. So we have to ask what kind of paint it is, this and so forth. But assuming all that is taken care of, yeah, whatever you can recycle. So first of all, we must be able to remove that picture from the frame.
Yeah.
That's an act. It's a courageous act, correct? It's a courageous act. That shows we've come a long way.
And also, Guruji, I wanted to say that Patanjali Yoga Sutra also, Patanjali mentions about Dharana, Dhyana and Samadhi, which is in the line of Eka Rupam and Aneka Rupam, and Samadhi is something to do with Arupa Darshana. So the practical way of understanding probably would be Dharana, Dhyana and Samadhi.
Yeah. Dharana, Dhyana, you need a Rupa for Dhyana. Then Samadhi, Savikalpa, Nirvikalpa. And therefore,
yeah, where the Triputi just merges, what you call, better words, merge, something like that.
So Vikalpa Rahita, Nirvikalpa. So
Yeah.
there's no division at all. No
division at all. So a practical way of understanding probably would be Dharana, Dhyana and Samadhi.
Right.
So Guruji, you had asked me for a reference for Patanjali Yoga Sutra, reading material. You had sent me a message.
Yeah, occasionally especially online, occasionally if something comes up and a reference to Yoga Sutras I find, then I want to look it up.
Okay.
See its meaning. That's the reason for my asking that.
Yeah. So we actually are now currently using a book written by Swami Anubhavananda.
Okay.
He's called as the laughing Swami.
Okay. I see.
So I'll send you that reference, Guruji.
Oh, okay.
Even Taimini is very good. His book is very nice. He was I think he was into research in the field of chemistry. So maybe you'll be able to get a lot of inputs.
That book is published by Theosophical Society of India.
Yeah,
Adiyar.
okay. Adiyar.
I have a soft copy. I'll share that with you. Taimini, I have soft copy. Ananda, I met him last year December at there was an international conference at Kaivalya Dhama, Lonavala. So he had come there. So he gave an autographed book.
So nice.
Pure
a big one.
Advaitin writing Patanjali Yoga Sutra.
From an Advaitin perspective.
From an Advaitin perspective. That's why it's very nice.
Okay. Okay. Oh, that's very interesting. Yeah.
And his talks are extremely humorous. So that's why he's called as Laughing Swami.
Oh. So nice.
And
What is his
Taimini
name
also
again?
is very good. Taimini is very good. Taimini is very good.
Uh-huh. I see. So his talks are on some of his talks are on YouTube and all.
Yeah, it's there. Many are there on YouTube.
Okay. Send me a sample. Send me one.
I'll send you that.
Can you share on the Bhagavad Gita group, Narayananji?
Yeah, I'll do that. You can also look him up on called as Laughing Swami.
Oh,
What is the name again?
Swami Anubhavananda.
Anubhavananda. Okay.
I have heard some of his talks, very humorous. He keeps you engaged throughout the session.
He'll keep you laughing throughout the session.
very good. Very good.
Even very serious topics also, he makes it very funny and jovial.
Yeah.
Because he uses that because that you remember. Because you laughed at it.
Very good. Very good. Okay, we'll pause with that. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Dhanvantaraye Amrita Kalashahastaya Sarvamaya Vinashanaya Trailokyanataya Shri Mahavishnave Namaha. Thank you very much.